Welcome back, traders. Alright, those of you who went ahead and entered that trade that I placed on Tuesday, I believe it was, you should be doing quite nicely right now. As you can see, the market did in fact go up and hit our sell limits that we had set up top here, and it did return down and keep on coming across our sell stop. And now you should be in quite a bit of profit on the sell stop as well as on the sell limit. The sell limit one, you should be sitting at just over 100 pips profits, and the sell stop you should be sitting at about, let's say 40, if we go ahead and include the spread on that. Unfortunately, my demo account did expire, so this is a new one, but you can just go and look at the previous video. You'll see the exact entry point as well as where I came up with these values and how to enter it, and you'll see that you should be in two trades, one very profitable and the other nicely profitable. But now you might be asking, well, what do I do? I mean, you're in a decent amount of profit, but is it enough? And it never really is enough, is it? But you also need to make sure that you are managing how much risk that you're taking. Now, if you're sitting with a lot of profit and it goes back to, say, zero, and you make no money, you can risk losing the profit that you're currently in. But likewise, you also don't want to close a trade too early in case things keep on going. I mean, if this market ends up coming down to this target that we wanted here at the green line, then you could lose out on all of this potential profit. So what I would personally do in this situation is the first trade that we've entered in here, that hits over 100 pips profit, I would close that. I would cash that money right now, put that into my trading account, and now we're in profit. We're done. We've made 100 pips profit. So if you're trading at one full lot, that's $10, that's $1,000 profit that you'd be sitting in. Then what you do for your remaining trade is you go and set your stop loss to the same value as your entry point. So if the market does then turn around and start going back up, then you break even. So your second part of the trade will close at about zero. It'll very rarely be exactly zero. You might lose $1 or $2 or make $1 or $2, but it's close enough to zero to say that it's a break-even trade. This means that we are now in a riskless trade. You're in enough profit where your stop loss will stop you out at entry point, so you can't lose any real money on it, and you can only really make profit on the way down. So we can go ahead and have a look at, say, the 1 hour chart, and you start seeing, well, on the 1 hour it does look like it's continuing to go down. You go ahead and make sure on the 4 hour that nothing is telling you that it should be turning up. We don't see any long pin bars, we don't see any haramis, we don't see any kind of candle information that'll tell us that it's coming up. And just to double check, you can go ahead and have a look at the market price that it's bounced off recently and see if that is an important level. Now, it does look like it's been repeated here, but it doesn't look like a significant turn in the market. This looks like a brief turn, so I personally would not be too worried about this price level. So the last thing to have a look at would be what is happening in the news. So I'm going to go ahead and load up the news and we'll see what's going to happen there. As always, I go on over to jpmarkets.co.za. Then underneath education, you'll see we have the economic calendar. We go and load that up, and then we look for today, and we can see that very little news is actually coming out for the rest of the day. We had some reasonably big news out of the US dollar a little bit earlier. Let's see how that will affect our trade. Well, we are trading the British pound versus New Zealand dollar, so there shouldn't be any direct influence. We did have some news coming out of the British pound which was quite positive, which should have made the market go up, but it wasn't so significant that there will be a huge change. And we haven't had any major New Zealand dollar coming out yet either. Tomorrow looks like pretty clear sailing. Here we go. No. Yeah, there's nothing major coming out tomorrow out of either the British pound or the New Zealand dollar. The euro is still somewhat tied to the British pound, so this is something that you might want to watch. But because it's not the British pound itself, it's not that significant. Which means that we can continue looking at our technical analysis and continue placing the trade. So at this point, just to confirm, the steps that I would personally take would be to close the larger trade, cash that money, now it's in my account, and then the remaining trade, the one that we entered at this price level here, I would take my stop loss, and in fact I'm going to drag it down, and that's where the stop loss was up top, and I would fix it to the entry price. So if the market does turn around, then the last part of the trade is break even, and we are now sitting in a riskless trade. Then we come back and we have a look again, maybe this evening, maybe tomorrow afternoon, and we see how's it going. Has anything happened? Do we have any candlesticks telling us that things are going to reverse? Have there been any news events coming out which we could not predict? And as long as everything keeps trundling along the way that we see it is, then there is no reason to close the trade, especially since we can't lose anything on what's remaining.